Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
I have 2 guns, one for each of you.
Firearms Friday.
As Thomas Jefferson stated, it is the right and duty of the people to be at all times armed.
Say hello to my little friend.
I say that the Second Amendment is, in order of importance, the First Amendment. The right to keep and bear arms is the one right that allows rights to exist at all.
The Michael Dukes Show. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Firearms.
From my cold, dead hands.
Friday.
Here's my rifle, where's my gun? This is for fun and it's for fun.
Firearms Friday.
Firearms Friday, your chance to sound off on issues of a 2A nature right here on the Michael Dukes Show, broadcasting live across the state of Alaska on this your favorite radio station and or FM translator, and live around the world on the interwebs at michaeldukeshow.com, where you'll find links to the audio-only podcast and, of course, links to our social media sites like Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble, where we simulcast the radio show every day across the world to all those straight people out there who are freaked out about guns. Welcome back to the program, and thank you for coming in. Friday, of course, is our one day a week where we dedicate everything that we're doing to the Second Amendment. We talk about guns and gun rights, laws, tips, tricks, tactics, and more. And we hope that you are ready for a big show today. Coming up in hour one, we're about to talk to Robyn Sandoval, who is with a girlandagun.org, which is a female shooting organization, female gun rights and instruction and more. We're going to get the full details on that here in just a quick second. In hour two, we've got some headlines to go over, including some of the latest out of New Mexico and the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals and more. It's going to be a lot. And of course, we're going to finish up, as always, with our good friend Willie Waffle. Yes, that's his real name. His parents must have hated him. Anyway, Willie Waffle is going to come in to give it to us with the weekend movie review. It's our attempt to try and lighten it up a little bit after we freaked everybody out. That's right. It's going to be fun. We're going to have a good time. All right. Well, we all know that, of course, over the last few years, there's no atheists in a foxhole, so to speak, and there's been a whole slew of new people who have joined the gun culture, including a huge amount of minorities and women, which heretofore have been kind of lacking, right? I mean, it was always the old white guys with a gun. Was that me? Was they talking about me? The old white guys in the woods bitterly clinging to our guns and religion and whiskey or something. I don't know how that all works out together, but anyway, we know that there's a huge component now over the last 4 years that all of a sudden there's been a lot of people who've discovered the joy, the fun, or the security that firearms can bring to you. And of course, that has really engaged a lot of folks. And Robyn Sandoval has come into the spotlight in part of this. My friend David Yamane, the professor and sociologist who we talked to here, I don't know, a couple months ago, he kind of pointed me over towards Robyn. She's the president and CEO and owner of A Girl and a Gun. And she provides professional leadership, advocacy, education, and genuine care for others. Well, that's a loving, you know what? That's a good story. We need that. And she has helped develop A Girl and a Gun shooting league. And she joins us this morning to talk about that. Let's bring her right on the program right now and see what we can do about this. Good morning, Robyn. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I hope that my audio is okay and that we can continue this conversation.
Yes. No, I can't hear. Did you say something? No, you're fine. It's absolutely great. It's good to have you on board. Thank you for joining us this morning and talking about this. I've been looking forward to this, and we've been kind of like ships passing in the night, getting things going on, but we finally made it. I appreciate you sticking with us on this. So first and foremost, like I said, David Yamane has kind of pointed it to us. I know that you've been making a bit of a splash in the firearms community. And that, as I was just saying, the ranks of the gun community have exploded with, again, women, minorities, people who heretofore have not been huge proponents of guns. In fact, they've usually been the face of gun control on the other side. So we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But first, give us the full rundown on what a girlandagun.org is all about. What do you guys do? Just give us the thumbnail elevator pitch on what you do and where you do it.
Well, A Girl and a Gun is the nation's largest women's organization dedicated to firearms training for women. We have a cadre of instructors across the country. We have card-carrying members in every state, and we offer training. So we're that friendly face on the other side of the door when women come into a gun store or range for the first time, and they really don't know how to begin their journey. It feels like we might have just shown up, but we've been working at this for many years. A Girl and a Gun we were founded in 2011. So for 14 years, we've been trying to bring more women into the firearms industry. And it's been really nice to see the work that we're doing is changing not only women coming into the range, but also women being RSOs, instructors, working in C-suites across the industry. We've been very influential in developing firearms for women and other products. So we've kind of taken over by storm, but it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, no, I mean, and I guess I didn't mean to intimate that you guys were brand new on the block, but I think that finally, maybe people are finally catching up to you, right? Because
so great.
Yeah, it must feel vindicating to know, like, man, I've been grinding at this thing for years, and all of a sudden it's like everybody gets it, everybody gets it. And I think, quite honestly, it was, we've talked about this quite frequently, but I think it was COVID that really opened up a lot of people's eyes. If there was a silver lining to COVID, there's a couple silver lining. One was that people figured out that that the school system, that they could homeschool their kids, right? That homeschooling wasn't as hard as people figured out. And the second thing was that they realized that just picking up the phone and calling the cops didn't necessarily guarantee that they were going to be there, that you may have had to take some responsibility for your own actions. Oh, and it wasn't as easy to get a gun. It was not easier to get a gun than it was to get a library book. People figured that out pretty quick during COVID. And so I imagine that you started to see some real swelling of the ranks in the last few years.
Yes, but really the trends have changed. We've seen swelling of the ranks since day one. We've had so many women interested in shooting, and sometimes they're spurred for self-defense. Sometimes they want to try something new. Sometimes they have a family member that invites them to the range, a husband, a spouse, a boyfriend. That's how it was back in the day. And really since COVID, what we're seeing is women are really driving that charge more. They're still coming to the range, but they might be the only shooter in their home, as opposed to prior to COVID, we saw a lot of women joining their fathers, sons, husbands, male counterparts at the range. And now it's women who are really leading the charge for the family and are learning about firearms for safety, sport, and fun, for hunting, for all kinds of reasons that women are coming to the range. So we have seen that flip-flop in recent years, still seeing the same percentage of growth, but sometimes the impetus of why they came has changed a little bit more, or who brought them. For right now, we're seeing mostly in our polling that women are coming to the range mostly because they didn't know they could. So that just shows that the rest of us in the 2A community have a lot of work to do to let them know that there's room at the table for them, that they're welcome in the range, and that there's a place for them there to train and to have fun and to compete.
Throw back them tent flaps is what you're saying. Throw back them tent flaps and let everybody come in. That's what we're trying to do.
It can be really intimidating for a woman to walk into a gun range or gun store if it has not been a part of her life. And while it's just women, it also goes to millennials. A lot of, we have generations now raised in our anti-gun states. There's a lot of people in California, Maryland that have never experienced firearms either. So we have a lot of people, not just women, but it can be very intimidating walking into a gun store. And so having people on the other side of the door that are friendly and happy to see you there and don't judge you for not knowing the calibers and don't judge you for not knowing what you need when you just go to ask questions. Like, we have so many women that just say, I want a gun. Well, what do you plan to do with it? I don't know yet. Okay, well, let's talk about that.
Let's have a discussion. Let's talk about that for a minute. Let's rewind a little bit before we get too deep into the weeds here. Let's talk a little bit about you, Robyn. So give us a little bit of your background before we get into A Girl and a Gun. Who's Robyn Sandoval? Give us and this is just a conversation, break out a cup of coffee. Let's just hang out. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? What got you started? What gave you an interest in firearms? Let's dig back into that history.
Well, I'm a native Texan. I grew up in Dallas. So growing up in the big city, the only people who had guns around me were people who went out to the deer lease, or people who had property, or people who were criminals. And so there was really never a time in my life that I thought guns were appropriate. In fact, for most of my life, I was strongly anti-gun. I felt that guns caused more problems, and that the right thing to do was to call 911 when you had a problem. And I felt that way for most of my life, and was outwardly vocal about that. I was one of those, mean moms talking about it. And it wasn't until
Are you one of the Million Mom Marchers, or is that what you were? You were part of that Million Mom March?
This was way before that, but I might have been, because I did have that mindset at the time. And it wasn't for me. It was this journey that lasted over many years. My husband wanted to get a firearm, and I said, not with 3 children. I'm not bringing that into our home. I believed all the statistics and all the rhetoric. And it really was the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina, when I realized how vulnerable our cities are, 9/11, just all of these things that were happening in that decade, really, that were opening my eyes to the vulnerability of our infrastructure, of our community, and the overburden, what happens when a system is overburdened and the police can't respond. What I saw with Hurricane Katrina was a pivotal moment when I saw a mother at the Superdome. She handed her small children to a bus, handed her small children to strangers getting on a bus to Houston. And she said, please take them. I'll try to find you in a few days. And I decided then and there, I will do whatever it takes. I will learn whatever it takes. I will face any fear so that I'm never in that situation, have to hand my children to strangers. And so my plan was I would just start storing peanut butter and tuna fish, and we would just hunker down if something happened. And then my husband said, okay, but if we do all this planning and someone kicks in our door for the stuff that you've stored, how am I going to stop them? And I didn't have an answer to that. And so at the time in 2011, there was a woman named Juliana Crowder who was a firearms instructor, and she decided to host Girls' Night Out at the range. At the time, there was networking activities happening around, realtors would have happy hour at the open house, and hairstylists would have happy hour at the salons. And she thought, what if I have a happy hour kind of environment at the range where we go and shoot, and then we go to dinner and talk about it? And so she had that, and I heard about it. My husband heard about it. And we bought our first firearm, and I thought it was going to jump out of the safe and hurt us all. I thought it was going to grow legs. I just didn't know. And I was so afraid of it being there. And so I went to this Girls' Night Out at the range, and I not only learned how to use this tool, what it's for, how to have begin my journey of mastery over it. But more importantly, I got to talk to other women and just watch them and observe them. Why aren't they afraid of this? How do they talk to their kids about this? How do they store them at home? What if people at work know that they shoot? And just all of those questions that I had, it really started this journey. And so you just kind of jump in, and I would learn, and more women would come each week, and we would do it every other week, and more women would come. And I had been the one time more than the next girl. So they were like, Robyn, help her. I didn't know anything. So I'm like, well, if I'm going to be helping, I better learn some stuff. And so it just exploded really quickly. And Juliana and I partnered up, and we were partners for 10 years in growing the league. And then for the past 3 years, I've kind of taken the mission that we started and have continued to run with it.
That's kind of crazy. Like I said, there's no atheist in a foxhole, and you're right. When you got to invite, people don't know what they don't know, we've got lots of stories about that and more. I want to talk a little bit about the mission and what the foundation and formation of a Girl and a Gun look like. We're going to continue here in a moment, though. We're up against the break. We're going to be back with more in just a moment. Robyn Sandoval is our guest. You can find out more at agirlandagun.org. Go over there and take a look at it. We're going to continue to get more of Robyn's story. And then by the end of the show, we'll be picking into some of today's headlines and some of the other things and what she sees from her perspective, because I don't identify as a woman, so I don't understand it maybe from her perspective. She's going to bring me some good perspective on this. We're going to be back with more. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, Free Thinking Radio.
Running on 100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay, Robyn Sandoval is our guest here. It's just you, me, Robyn, and I don't know, 40 of our closest friends on Facebook, YouTube, and Rumble this morning. So good morning, and thanks for sticking it. We got about 4.5 minutes here before we return to the Ray Didio. So it's interesting that you say that, because as a firearms instructor, I do remember one of the most interesting experiences I had was teaching a class, and I remember we had 629s broken out on the tables, and all the cylinders were out. The guns were just sitting there. There's no ammo in the whole building, it's just the guns and sitting out in front. And there was couples. It was couples that were learning about firearms. And we placed the guns down there, and we told the people to go ahead and pick them up and take a look at them. This is after we've said, pointed in a safe direction and kept all the safety tips and everything. And encouraging this woman to pick up this gun, and her husband's encouraging her, and she bursts into tears. I mean, just absolutely into tears. She is terrified at this inanimate hunk of metal sitting on the desk in front of her. And she just, again, when your exposure to firearms, all your exposure to firearms is what you see in the news, in the entertainment. I'm sure she was a huge Law and Order fan, or something, because all those evil guns are, and it was amazing to see. Now, 2 days later, she's down on the range, putting lead through paper and smiling from ear to ear. But that first experience, she was literally just terrified. And that has everything to do. That's really one of the things that drove me to start this portion of the show, was because there are people out there that are just terrified. The disinformation, the misinformation, the intentional misleading that we see in the news media and the entertainment industry. It's, it's totally doing a disservice.
Absolutely. And that's what a lot of people's experience is, just what they see in the news or on YouTube or in movies, and it's just not a credible source. And so if we can get them there and we can introduce them to our way of thinking, and that's what I used to describe as the other side of the mountain. I really believe that there's this huge chasm between gun owners, the gun community, and the rest of the population. They just can't see over that mountain to who we are. And when you describe who we are, that often we're first responders, we're Eagle Scouts, we're moms, when you describe who we are and the values we have, we want to protect our families, we want to help our communities. Once they start to realize who we are, then they start to trust us a little more, but they can't see over that mountain. All they see is the rhetoric on how bad the NRA is, or how bad guns are, and how, crime, we need to cut down on the cities that have the most firearms incidents, have the most legislation. So let's just add more on top of it. And so they don't really know what's on our side of the mountain. And when I came to my first gun experience, my very first time to ever shoot at a girls' night out, I had to take an NRA safety video. I had to watch the video at the range. It was required. It was an NRA certified range. And so I watched this video, and that was my first exposure to the NRA not being the evil empire that they say that it is, and recognizing that the NRA has other qualities and other people and other programs. And so a lot of times it's just educating them and saying that, a lot of times what they've heard is not the way. And once they realize who we are and what our heart is and what our motivation is, and a lot of times they want to come to us. Like I said, sometimes they're spurred because of a self-defense situation that they found themselves in and all of a sudden realize their vulnerability. But sometimes they're just at a place in life where they want to try something challenging. They want to do something new and exciting. Sometimes it's because they want to spend more time with their family, or their husband at the deer lease, or their son at the trap field, or, they want to spend more time with people that they love. And so they're willing to jump in and learn. And so you never really know why they're coming. Sometimes it's a place of excitement. Sometimes it's a place of fear. But often you're right. When you see a woman at the range, sometimes there are tears. Sometimes there are emotional tears. Sometimes there are excited tears that they conquered a fear that they thought they couldn't do. And so that's just comes with the territory.
It is amazing to see that conversion, to see people change, I guess is what I'm saying, to see people change, and to see the joy in their eyes. And that's why you were talking about, making it a big tent, bringing a lot, be welcoming and everything else. It's super important. All right. We got to jump back into this here. We're going to continue here. Robyn Sandoval is our guest, The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Let's do it.
What the hell's an assault weapon?
If we could just figure out how to get all of the murder guns and the attack guns and not keep selling those to people and just sell protection guns, I think that would be great and solve a lot of problems.
Does this mean that if we hurt your feelings, you'd consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can live with that. Here's Michael Dukes.
That's right. All my guns are protection guns. I check the labels before I purchase them. None of them said murder or attack on them. Joining us right now is Robyn Sandoval, agirlandagun.org. Folks down on the peninsula, hi, thanks for coming in. Yeah, I know. I forgot to switch something from last weekend when I took the weekend off, and you've been listening to Mike Gallagher for a little bit. But we're back. It's Firearms Friday, baby. We're joined by Robyn Sandoval, who is one of the founders of agirlandagun.org. We just got a little bit of her background and where you're coming from. And so my big question is, wow, Robyn, you go from a million mom marching type woman who dislikes guns and is terrified to starting one of the largest women's shooting leagues in the country. What was that all about? How did that get started? Walk us through the thought process. Was it like incremental where you just started out small, or did you have a big vision from what was good? Give me some rundown here. How did it get started?
It's really always been a grassroots organization. So when I learned and started my firearms journey, wanting to learn to protect my family, protect my kids, other women wanted to learn too. So instead of going and finding the information and bringing it to them, I bring them along the way. I would say, I'm going to this class. Y'all want to come? I'm going to take this course. Do you want to come? And I would learn things, and it just kind of grew. And now we have 8,200 members, card-carrying members across the country. We've had tens of thousands of members. We train about 45,000 women a year. And it's just been an incredible adventure to see these women and the light bulbs go off and them learn all the things that they didn't know. And often when women go to a range, or when anyone walks into a range, if your home range is a static indoor range and that's all you can do is shoot paper up to 25 yards, you think that's what shooting is. And you think, oh, okay, I got it. I did it. I hit the paper. I'm good. And they don't realize that there's other opportunities for dynamic movement, for action shooting sports, for 3-gun, for multi-gun, for all the different sports and enjoyment that we love to do. A Girl and a Gun hosts a giant clay tournament every July. We are hosting our sniper school this week in Colorado. We're hosting the only all-ladies 3-gun match in the country, and a couple next month. So there's a lot of opportunities, and sometimes when people come in, they don't even know that those exist. And so we open doors to opportunities and challenges and excitement and fun that they never even knew was on the radar. Because if that's the only experience you have, or that's your only bubble, is that one indoor range in your hometown, that's what's so amazing about A Girl and a Gun. We bring everybody from all over the country together into different events, a deep dive into different topics, and then we can just share this knowledge, and there's always something more to learn.
And was that the goal from the very beginning, or was this baby steps? Was this incrementalism? Did you just start it in your own community and thought we could just have a hangout, like this is a ladies hangout, and then all of a sudden it grew into something? Or did you have that bigger vision from the start, from the very beginning?
Well, so Juliana was a IDPA shooter, and she wanted to have, the goal was to get an all-girls squad, to have a whole squad at an IDPA match that was all ladies. That was the goal. And IDPA did a write-up on her in their magazine, and other women instructors from different cities would call her and be like, well, how are you doing that? We want to do that here. And so it just instantly turned into a movement that had more power and more life. and was always something very special from the beginning. So the goal was for us just to have an all-ladies squad at one local match. And now we have tens of thousands of women shooting across the country. So we love bringing them in and teaching them how to shoot, giving them confidence, bringing them to a match, giving them those opportunities to learn. But then we want them to go support their club matches and go support their local ranges and go travel and take courses. We kind of, push them out of the nest and say, grow. And that's what a lot of people don't do. Even gun owners in general don't really invest in that kind of investing in their travel and training and time and equipment. It really is incredible to see these women making that investment in themselves to get those experiences as well.
It's fun for me to see, as you said, the gun culture can be intimidating for women, right? Especially when they, the vision of, they weren't partially wrong when they said, it was a bunch of crabby old white guys with guns, because there's kind of a lot of that goes on, and for a woman to walk into a gun store and see a bunch of grizzled old guys behind the counter and not know anything. Nobody likes to admit that they don't know something. And so to walk in and start having some kind of questions, and I'm sure that there's somebody there that says, "Oh, Missy, you know what I mean," kind of condescending and everything. And so it's good to see kind of that embracing of the idea. And it's good to see the strength and the courage of women to push beyond that. And then to see other women come in and support them and do that. Is a girl and a gun it's it's a national shooting league. So do you guys have chapters? Is it done throughout the country? Anything going on in Alaska? Is it give us the organizational structure. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, we do have chapters across the country. We operate out of 350 ranges across the country. So we have local instructors that are all highly credentialed. They have to have a number of credentials to even open in a Girl and a Gun chapter. We did have one in Alaska for a while, but we do not have one there. I would love to find a female instructor who wants to run our program there. We have a lot of really great plug and play programs where instructors can host Girls Night Out at the range. And we have activities for them to do that kind of is a roadmap for women on their firearms journey. So it's a great opportunity for instructors and ranges that want to reach out to other women and expand their market base that way. And I would love to meet one and get Alaska back on our map. We do have a lot of members there. We just don't have a chapter. But going back to what you were saying, I think most men, even the bristly guys behind the gun counter, they really have the best intentions. They really want to sell her a quality firearm. They want to do what's right for her. But a lot of them also don't have the training in what women want and what fits their hands. Right. And fits their needs. And so that's also been part of our mission, is to educate those guys behind the gun counter. And fortunately, back in the day, it was, a little pink revolver was what was a little pink J-frame was always what was recommended. And fortunately, we're moving out of that. And there's a lot of really great semi-autos that are perfect for women and that women can find empowerment with. But it really depends on what her goals are, if she's using it for defense or sport or everything, So and educating those guys as well. But in the industry, we've seen a huge shift. Back in 2011, I would go to SHOT Show and I would know every woman in the building. You would just know who was there because you were the anomaly. And now I go to SHOT Show and there's so many women that I don't know. And it's wonderful to see that kind of growth, and it's happened really quickly. But we couldn't be there without the support of the men in our lives.
Right. Robyn Sandoval is our guest at girlandagun.org. You're right. And the industry has changed, because you're right. The first thing that, I remember, it was such an anomaly when I think it was Smith & Wesson, and they had the airweights and they had the pink and the purple revolvers. And all of a sudden that was the girl, the one girl. Well, what do we get a girl? Well, we get her the little pink revolver, kind of thing. And it's like, well, wait a second. Does that fit what she's doing? Does it fit the scenario? But it was like that first tipping point to realize there's a whole nother component of customer base that you may never have touched on. And then it started to just explode from there. And now we've got, high profile worldwide women 3-gun champions. And you could see it on on YouTube, the 12-year-old girl who's out there competitive shooting, and now it's becoming more and more mainstream, which I think is important, because again, we're trying to counteract all the things that we've seen on the idiot box, or on the silver screen. Because the entertainment industry, which has got its own agenda, the people who are in it have their own agenda, and they utilize their platform in a certain way. And so they put that misinformation out there. And then we get the talking heads in the news media who have their own agenda. That's not the same agenda as average, everyday, middle of the road Americans. And I think that's a huge thing. And that's what you're fighting back against.
Absolutely. And honestly, the women's voice is so powerful in that area that basically the soccer moms of the 90s are the gun moms of today. We're the ones changing the face and influencing the political discussion and having those conversations. I've been in lots of debates with Moms Demand Action women. And what is fascinating to me is that the only qualifier they have is to be a mom. And while that's important, and while it's important to speak from the heart and to be involved in these discussions, I can give you a list of my credentials, the classes I've taken, the expertise I have in certain areas, and reason why I can speak about this topic. I can show you the credentials and training that I possess. And so it's a little bit different. And often those women speaking in debates will use pseudonyms because they're afraid of gun people coming out and, having some kind of, I don't know, it's silly. And so again, I say, well, here's my name, here's my credentials, here's what I'm standing behind. And so for us to have those conversations and to not back down, to be open to conversations about it and not back down, and to walk into legislators' office, and I go to Capitol Hill regularly, and say that the moms that make demands to take our rights don't speak for moms like me. I know you hear about them a lot.
Right,
Let me tell you about moms like me. There's thousands of us out there, and we want the right to protect our families. And often they'll think that we're coming as part of them, and they're shocked when we're not. And so I love the look on their face when we walk in, a group of moms, and we just have a completely different message. And depending on what side of the aisle they're on, sometimes it's received and sometimes it's not. But I love the look of shock on their face nonetheless.
Well, and it's such a dichotomy to me. It's so condescending for those moms who are in the Moms Demand Action side of the equation, for them to say, well, we just couldn't possibly be qualified enough to handle a fight. We couldn't possibly. It seems like they're all saying, well, that not just women, but I mean, they're speaking for women specifically. So I'm going to pigeonhole them in that group. We as women, we just couldn't possibly be qualified and understand and be good. Only the police and military should have firearms, and we shouldn't because we couldn't possibly. You're moms. You're superheroes. You can do all kinds of stuff. How condescending to say to other women, you can't do. And by the way, the women's movement and women's liberation and all these other kind of things, you want equality with men. You weigh a buck soaking wet, 100 pounds soaking wet, and you got some 200-pound thug that's going to, what do you want? The ultimate equalizer is that firearm. And if you know how to use it, that is the ultimate equality in those kind of situations. Why aren't you fighting for that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. That's the conversation we have all the time. And we reach out to them. They think somehow that we are misinformed, and we're inviting them out to the range. Just shoot an AR, see what it feels like. Look at the round size. And they think that it's, a 50 cal or something. And so
it will blow you apart, right? Yeah. I mean, I can't remember, it was Biden or somebody. It will blow you apart. I mean, that's, you guys, if you want to have a woman be comfortable shooting, give her a light platform AR and let her plink all day long. And she'll be like, what? I mean, that's in you, I think, have captured it. Bring them to the range. That's the answer. Bring them to the range and let them see how much fun it can be. That's really the key.
How much fun it can be, but also how safe we are. I think they think that we're just handing out guns to everybody. And they know that we don't want that either. We want responsible armed citizens. We want our people to have training. We want everyone to be informed and have safe gun handling and follow the rules. And I think they don't think that we do that. So it is great for them to get on our side of the mountain and to have that visibility that we care about safety. We care about our communities. Go to a 3-gun match. I love when we have juniors at our 3-gun matches. I say that my son at the range is way safer than when he played football. And they don't think about it that way.
Yeah, no, it's a hard nut to swallow sometimes for them to wrap their brain around it, because they've been so conditioned to believe a certain mindset or believe a certain thing, and that cognitive dissonance, it really is hard for them to overcome it. But by taking people like that to a range and seeing it firsthand, it may be disturbing at first, but you'll find that all of a sudden They realized that maybe, and I think, again, going back to COVID, that's when people realized it wasn't as easy to get a gun. And they couldn't just pick up the phone and call 911. I've still got the quote. I've still got the tweet somewhere, the snapshot of the tweet of some guy who was very anti-gun on Twitter. And basically he said, I just called the police and they told me I'm on my own. This was during the George Floyd riots and everything else. And he goes, just called the police and they said, sorry, you're on your own. And he was rethinking his entire life at that moment, especially his support for gun control, because he had no way to defend himself. And that's what people really need to think about. Robyn Sandoval is our guest. We're coming up on the next break. agirlandagun.org is where you need to go. Go out there right now and take a peek at it, and you could see all the cool stuff that she does. You could find out about creating a chapter. Now in Alaska, we don't have a lot of indoor ranges, and it gets cold here. So we have a little bit of a problem with that, right? Nobody wants to go out and shoot at 40 below. But you could find out more about maybe starting a chapter here as well. We'll continue with Robyn Sandoval in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes.
Allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, Robyn Sandoval is our guest, and I screwed the pooch earlier on something, so I've got to fix something here real quick in my own little thing. Let me do this housekeeping. Let me do this little housekeeping thing here, and then we will be good to go. Okay, I did it. It's all good. Take me to the Church of Recoil, says Brian. Yeah, I mean, take everybody. Invite your friends. Proselytize like your soul depends on it. That's what we need to be doing. Anthony said, I don't know about letting them plink all day with my AR. Dude, 556 is going for $100 a box. Hey, you know what? A black dog conversion kit for your AR. I don't know how much they cost these days, but you get yourself a black dog conversion kit and a few mags, and you can convert that 223 to 22, and you can plink all day long. It is the ultimate plinker. But you're right. I mean, I'm not going to. It is. Ammunition is just ridiculously expensive. Anyway, something you said that I wanted to circle back to. I had delayed intelligence there for a minute, and I remembered I wanted to talk about it earlier. But you said that your conversion moment came in part during Hurricane Katrina. And, I'm up in Alaska. I'm watching all this madness unfold down there when this is going on. We're seeing the National Guard going house to house and rounding up firearms and beating old ladies to try and take away their guns. And we're seeing the looters and the craziness and everything else. And to me, it was just a reinforcement of something that I'd understood since I was probably 15 or 16 years old, because I'm a student of history, is that the skin of civility is super thin. And most people don't realize it. Most people in this country, and we saw this again exposed during the George Floyd riots, is most people think, oh, that'll never happen to us. We're the pinnacle of society. We're everything. And then something happens and they realize that veneer is paper thin. And like I said, now they call the cops and the cops say, sorry, sweetheart, you're on your own. And it's during those kinds of events where I think people are at that they're most vulnerable, and they're most able to be converted to this. Am I wrong? Give me your thoughts.
No, you're absolutely right. We get a lot of calls around those times when there's a hurricane, when there's a flood. The floods of Central Texas here sparked a lot of questions on what are you going to do in that situation? And it does make people realize their vulnerability. And often they do want to run out and buy a gun. The important thing is that they get training, it's about building confidence, about being prepared. It's about knowing your options so that you're not panicked and you're not left alone. And so a lot of men will reach out to me. I kind of laugh that I'm the Dear Abby of the gun world, because men will say, how do I get my wife to shoot? My wife's afraid. How do I get her to go to the range with me? Or how do I get her to participate more in this? And I think the biggest thing is to just ask questions. what is her willingness to participate in y'all's journey or in y'all's plan? Do you have a family emergency plan, and what is her role in it? Is it just for you to get up and go do everything? Or is she going to participate in that? If you have to do A, can she do B? And how can you work as a team? So having those conversations sometimes can bring women into the fold, because they want to know, where is their role? What is my willingness to participate? And for some women, I'll ask them, what is your self-defense plan? And they'll say, I'm going to use a baseball bat. And I'll say, okay, well, I will make you the best I can with that baseball bat. And then you'll realize that there's better options. And, so we go through, okay, so if this happens, how are you going to use that bat? Now she's going to realize on her own that that's not a great plan. And so that, allowing people to walk through that scenario, because so often people will create these dark alley scenarios of, my self-defense situation is going to happen in the Walmart parking lot at 3 a.m. Well, are you really going to be at Walmart at 3 a.m? And if you know it's going to be bad, why would you go there? So the whole point is getting them to realize that, crimes of things happen to you at the most inopportune times. Hurricanes hit when you're not convenient, So how are you going to be ready and just live a lifestyle of preparedness and live a lifestyle of having the tools you need, having your ammo stored, having your guns staged, making things right for your family? How are you going to live in that lifestyle? And once people start thinking of that, what is my plan? What is my role in the plan? It becomes a better conversation for the whole family, honestly.
Yeah. And again, I think it is those aha moments where people look at that and they realize that they're not as safe, that the world is not as idyllic as that they want, and that they need to take some personal responsibility for what's going on with them. That, that's where we can step in and help. That's where we can step in as gun people, as members of the gun culture. That's where we can step in and help. And guys, you want to know how to help your wife, go to the range and don't hand her a 454 Casull on the range and say, let me try this the first time. Don't give her a Desert, give her a Smith 6, a 22 long rifle revolver, and let her shoot that first and work her way up to something, that's more powerful if you need to. But it's just, we all love the videos, right, of the girl trying to shoot the Desert Eagle out there, but it's just, that's not how you bring people into the gun culture and make them comfortable and give them some joy in that. It's not fun for everybody. All right. We're going to continue here. We're about to rejoin the radio and Robyn Sandoval is our guest. One final segment here, dead ahead, the Michael Dukes Show. Like and share, like and follow, ring the bell, do all that. Here we go.
What the hell's an assault weapon? What isn't? If I assault you with a penguin, doesn't that make it an assault weapon? Does this mean that if we hurt your feelings, you'd consider the Michael Dukes Show assault radio? Okay, we can live with that. Here's Michael Dukes.
Those assault penguins, man, especially the Emperor assault penguins, those things are deadly. Absolutely deadly. Second only to the trunk monkeys, man. Trunk monkeys. You've seen those trunk monkeys, man? Put up the trunk and let that thing out. Welcome back to the program. We're talking with Robyn Sandoval, agirlinagun.org. If you want to find out more, you can go over there. They've got chapters all over the country. She's looking to start another chapter here in Alaska. And as I said, it's a little tougher because we don't have indoor ranges, and that makes it tough. But I know there's a lot of ladies out there that are shooting and doing and having fun stuff like that. You made a mention of something, at the time when there's a crisis, people, want to get a gun. The problem is that many people, if they feel like, now is the time to get a gun, I'm feeling threatened, or there's some kind of, incident going on, is that they'll buy a gun. And for ladies, I'll buy the gun and put it in my purse and then I'll be safe. Like it's some kind of mystical totem, right? It's a laser shield that keeps them. That's not how it works, right? We have a rule here on the program that we call the rule of 3. If you're going to go forth armed, meaning you're going to carry a firearm out in the wild, there's the rule of 3 is that you take whatever you're going to spend on the gun, let's say $500, and you're going to spend 3 times that amount. You're going to spend $500 on the gun. You're going to spend $500 on good accessories, not a cheap belt and an Uncle Mike's, blah. You're going to get a good Kydex or leather holster, retention, snap caps, extra magazines, cleaning kits. And then you're going to spend that third $500 tranche on training. And whether that's basic firearms handling, concealed carry permitting, tactical combat pistol, whatever it is, you're going to spend that extra money to get learning. Now, I'm not advocating that you should be required by law to get training, but I think the responsible citizen is going to do that, because just like I'm not going to go over to somebody like Robyn and say, you've never handled a chainsaw before. Let me start it up and hand it to you, and now you buck up this cord of wood with this chainsaw, right, Robyn? I mean, it's a tool like any other. It requires that kind of training.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that is really where a girl and a gun shines. When someone purchases the firearms, we help close the loop on that to get them out to the range and training. And like you said, Alaska doesn't have a lot of indoor ranges. Our girls are hard chargers. They'll be out there in the snow, and they'll be doing it across the country. We have outdoor ranges across the country, and when they can't, we'll be doing inside dry fire exercises and different programs that we have inside. But it is having those opportunities to learn and to get with other people and to expand your knowledge, whether it's firearms or gun cleaning or holster fitting or concealed carry draws or all the different things. There's just so much that people don't know goes into it. First aid or, just the list goes on and on. So all of the things that we can do inside when it's snowy outside, it just goes on throughout the year, and it just creates that environment of wanting to learn. And like I said, with the family, it goes back to the lifestyle. We found that when men shoot, it's a hobby. He goes off to the deer lease, or he goes to the range, or he has his guns, or he has his reloading set up. But when the mom shoots, when the women shoot, it really becomes more of the family lifestyle. It becomes part of the family budget, part of the family scheduling on who's going where and taking classes and shooting matches. And it really does transform the whole way the children are raised up and the whole mindset of that community, really.
No, and it is, again, part and parcel, and I think it's integral to the American spirit. People often, I've been a face of the gun culture in my community and around the state for years, and I remember interviewing some tourists on the street, or somebody introduced me to some tourists as a guy to a radio guy who did gun stuff. And I remember, people from Europe going like, you Americans and your love affair with guns, I don't understand this. And I'm like, it's baked into our DNA. I mean, our country was formed and grew up as the technology around firearms developed. In fact, we were part of the cornerstone of developing firearms technology with John Moses Browning and Samuel Colt and all these other kind of things. I mean, that's kind of who we are. And it has to do with our rugged individualism and our self-determination and our ideology of taking care of ourselves, not letting the king or the government or whoever we were going to take care of ourselves. And I think the more that we get families involved in that, and men and women, moms and dads involved in that, then the more independent we become as a nation, right? I think that's kind of it should be part of who we are.
It is part of who we are, but a lot of the world doesn't realize the dichotomy of we can be a lot of things. We can be caring moms and caring dads and, baseball coaches, and still the same person that is going to fight for our country and fight for our family. And a lot of times in the media, that is really misconstrued. I've done interviews before where they'll say, wow, you're really nice. You're not like those out of my cold dead hands people. And I'm like, we are one and the same. That is us. We will have that conversation with you. But let's talk about where it comes from, a place of love and protection. And I want to be able to protect my family. And yes, you can't take them for that reason. It's
right,
not about
exactly.
the gun. It's about my ability to protect my family.
You just didn't ask me the right question to see if it was from my cold dead hands, right?
Yes, exactly. I'm like, we are one and the same. We're all really nice.
I can still bake a pie and kiss a child and still love guns. It's it's one of those things. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Well, the tide is changing, and we got about 4.5 minutes here, Robyn, before we run out of daylight on this hour. But the tide is kind of changing, and I want to get into a little bit of the politics of it. We saw McDonald, we saw Heller, and now we saw Brune. And Brune, I think, is probably going to go down as one of the biggest changes, if it hasn't already, in history. We'll look back at that 100 years and realize that decision was the beginning of the end of the most formalized components of gun control. And I think we're going to see now more and more people it becoming more normalized. And that's why I'm so happy to see women and minorities participating at such a higher level than they had been previously. What are your thoughts on the gun wars, the fight for our culture? Where do you think we're going? Are we taking ground? Where do you see us in 5 years? Give me your take on, as a woman and as a leader in the community, on the current state of gun control and the war for the gun culture and everything else. Give us your thoughts on that.
Well, Bruin was huge, and I'm very excited about it, grateful for it. But I also think it's going to not happen overnight, because it doesn't mean that a legislature can't pass an unconstitutional law. We see it all the time. We see it in California daily, that just because it is unconstitutional and they know it's unconstitutional, they still pass it. They still have to enforce it. And then we have to go through the long legal process. So it's not going to change overnight, but I love that it's on paper, and I love that it's going to eventually get there. And hopefully it'll help make the fight a little easier for some of us. But I think we still have a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and I think we can't grow weary in well-doing, right? I mean, to me, I look at this as a long-term. We may have won the battle, but we haven't won the war. Bruin, McDonald, Heller, those are all, to use my battlefield analogy, those are us leapfrogging forward and then bunkering down and getting into a new position and continuing to fight the war. We can't just, keep letting it go. And as you said, the lawfare, that's the thing. The left and the progressive, the gun control movement, they have control of a lot of the levers of power, right? So they can pass a law that they know is unconstitutional, that they know violates our rights, but they don't care because they have an ideology that says they think that they're right. And then they'll force us to then spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours and blood, sweat, and tears to try and fight it. We may win, but it's going to cost us dearly. And that's the challenge that we're in right now. We're seeing that as we go forward. But again, I think Bruin especially has given us a lot of extra leverage on that. And I think it's changing hearts and minds across the country.
I hope so. But what's important is that nobody gets complacent just because things are okay in your community. Because while some states might be more gun friendly than others, the battle that's happening in the battleground states are going to be moving to your friendly community soon. We see it time after time. Whatever's happening in Connecticut rolls out the rest of the country. So we have to pay attention to what's going on in Connecticut. And, a lot of times people are in their bubble and they don't realize that their regional culture is part of their paradigm. And it's good to look out over the mountain, out of your own community, to see what's going on in Connecticut, what's going on in Maryland, what's going on in Virginia. Virginia's being taken over right now. And we have to pay attention to those things because our gun rights are chipped away. They're not just taken overnight. They're chipped away slowly. And a lot of times people don't even notice. I was in California and I was meeting with the California delegation that is all about gun rights. And they made a comment about magazine capacity that floored me as a Texan when they were like, well, yeah. And we want to keep them stored up because that's just common sense. We keep them stored up and have laws about
a girl and a gun.org. Is where you go to find Robyn Sandoval. I'm sorry, I'm still there. We're sorry, we were up against the break.
I'm sorry, I got all your boxes.
No, that's fine. It's passionate. So finish the story. So they're like, oh yeah, we want to store the magazines because that's just common sense. And you were like, what?
I'm like, come out of California and see how the rest of us live. That is not okay. Fight for it.
Exactly. That stack of magazines in the drawer next to my bed. Yeah, that's fine. It doesn't need to be in a safe. It doesn't need to be across the room. It doesn't need to be in a box. It doesn't need to have empty magazines that you're forced to load before you can do anything. Yeah. I mean, it's really the dichotomy where people are faced with that kind of stuff. And they're like, oh yeah, like you said, it's just the culture in their area. And there's different levels of ridiculousness. And sometimes it takes that outside perspective to say, y'all know that ain't right. 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 I mean, I could feel the Texan coming out of y'all know that ain't right.
Right. That's pretty much what I said. Y'all need to come to the great state of Texas and see how it is a little bit. And not even in Texas, we've had our challenges here too. We're not as gun friendly as the paradigm, as the stereotype. But it's just for us to never get complacent, even with Bruin and even with the progress we're making, for everyone to pay attention in everyone else's battle, because it's coming to you too.
You want to see gun friendly, you need to come to Alaska. That's all I'm saying. Come to Alaska.
I
You
need
still
to
have-
get there. I need to get there.
Yeah, you need to come here. All right. I love to give everybody, we're in the commercial break now. And so I want to give you just a couple minutes. If there was something that we didn't touch on or something that we touched on that you wanted to expand on more, I want to give you the final bite at the apple. Robyn Sandoval, agirlandagun.org. If you want to go over there and find out more. But Robyn, I want to give you the floor, and anything that we missed or any other commentary or pitch that you'd like to make, here's the time to do it.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time. I know we had some scheduling issues, so we're both busy, but thank you for the invitation to join you and talk about these issues. Yes, as you've seen, I'm very passionate about it. It's very exciting to see these women and having this transformation that happens in their lives, because what we've seen is the empowerment that they feel on the range translates into so many areas of their lives, and they become women that can tackle anything that they didn't know that they could. And so seeing that transformation in them and seeing that the joy that firearms bring them and the adventure, it's a blessing for me in my life to be able to witness people's journeys. And so I would just invite all these women to come out to agirlandagun.org. If your listeners have women in their lives that they want to invite out, I would appreciate and love to meet them.
Yeah, no, we'd love to do it. We'd love to have you guys, we'd love to have you come up here and enjoy a little bit of Alaskan goodness and get something going on up here again and invite you back. And I'd love to reserve the right to have you back on the program sometime in the future. That would be a great thing if you're willing to come back on, because I thought this was a fun conversation.
I love it.
Yeah, and I think that again, bringing a perspective like a female perspective is not a bad thing, because it gives all the ladies out there to know it's not just old crusty white guys that are doing the thing. So
we're taking over. We're taking over.
Taking over one little thing at a time. That's what it is. All right. Well, Robyn, thank you so much for coming on board. We appreciate it, and good luck. And keep us, if you get anything new, shoot me an email. We'll bring you on the program to talk about it as well. It works both ways. I can call you. You can call me. Okay.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much. That's Robyn Sandoval, agirlandagun.org. You can go find it out, find out more details over there. Good stuff. Good stuff. I mean, it's so refreshing to see people, take such an interest and really pull their together and pull together like that and enjoy it. Okay. We're Brian says, ooh, she brought a budget. It's what she said. You get the wives involved and they put it into a whole budgetary thing and all that stuff. It's good. Yeah. I did see that. Anthony says, you guys see the video of the dude with the AR clearing in the dark and then dropping a bear in his house? Yeah, that was amazing. And because I had no idea what it was about until, the thing said, man hears intruder in his house, goes to clear the house and drop and something about 3 rounds. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm watching this video and the guy's clearing, he clears the living room, clears the other room, turns around, and there's a freaking black bear in the middle of the room. And he triple taps his black bear. And I'm just like, if that is not like Anthony said, if that's not a great commercial for owning a firearm, I don't know what is. I saw that a couple days ago. And I guess somebody just said Coleon Noir did a video on it as well. I saw it on something else, but yeah, wow. And you could tell he's shocked. He was not, I think he was expecting a human. He was expecting a human, not an Ursine, because he was like, whoa, he sees that. And then it was like, tap, tap, tap. And he dropped that bear like a bad habit. It wasn't a big bear, but a black bear in your house. And you could hear him go, holy crap. The audio was great. Although I don't think he said crap. It was a great video for sure. Anyway, it's a great video. You should go watch it. All right. Good conversation, MD, good guest. Yeah, I thought so. I thought she's very well informed, good articulate. It was a lot of fun. I enjoy those kind of conversations. That long form conversation to me is just so much fun. Good morning, Bill. Bill's just popping in to say hi. Coming home tomorrow. We look forward to having you back full time with us, Bill. on Monday. Can I link the video? Boy, now you're really asking me to go. You're asking me to go deep on this, aren't you? I got to go back and look to see where. I can't even remember where I watched it. I'll see if I can find it during the show theme here. I'll go back and look. I think it was on YouTube. I saw it a couple days ago. Now I got to go back and figure out. I don't want the channel. Just give me I want YouTube. Sorry. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show, Common Sense Radio.
Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet at michaeldukeshow.com and across the great state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Welcome back to the program, and thanks for coming in and joining us. It is Firearms Friday. I just played the wrong theme. It's because I was looking for something for somebody and on the interwebs, and I'm sorry. It's Firearms Friday. How are you guys? You guys ready to go? Ready to get your gun stuff on? It is. We were just talking about. There's a great video out there, and I guess maybe I watched it on Facebook instead of YouTube because I was looking at the YouTube. I was looking at the YouTube my YouTube history, and it wasn't there. But it is. It's a video of a homeowner who hears a noise in the middle of the night, and he gets up and grabs his home defense gun, which was an AR-15, which was which had a light on it and everything, and he heads downstairs and starts to clear the house. Well, he's got Nest cameras or whatever inside of his house, and so you see him come down the stairs. He clears the living room. He clears the one room off to the side, and then he walks. You can see him because the camera's at the top of the stairs, and you're seeing down into the living room, and you see him walk into the kitchen, and you see his gun light flash onto a black bear in the middle of the kitchen, about 5 feet away from him, and he just triple taps the bear, like, right. It was like instant. He sees it, bam, 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 and he drops him, just bam, drops it right there. Anyway, it is a great. That basically shows you this is, the right to bear arms, not the right to arm bears. I'm just glad that was what it was. Anyway, Colio Noir also did a video on this yesterday. Apparently, that's the only. I just linked that into the chat room so folks can go out there and take a look at it. It is it's pretty interesting. If you ever needed a reason why you wanted to have a firearm in your house, there's another reason right there. There's another reason to protect yourself, to bear arms, to protect yourself from bears. It's a crazy video, and you can go out there and check it out. I've linked it up in the chat room if you want to come over to Facebook, facebook.com/Michael Duke Show /live. Okay, so we've got Willie Waffle coming up at the end of the hour. We just finished up with Robyn Sandoval from agirlandagun.org. And it was a great conversation with Robyn. I really enjoyed that, learning a little bit more about her and where she came from and how it got started and everything else. And I love it. We're going to have her back on in the future, I'm sure, because she was a great guest discussing a lot of good points, especially from the ladies' point of view. Because as I said earlier, I don't identify as a female, so she brings a unique perspective to my world here, and I love that. We got some headlines to cover from around the country, and I have also gone ahead and I have opened up the phone lines as well. We're going to do gun Q&A. So if anybody wants to call in and ring up, now's the time to do it. 319-527-3864. 319-527-3864. If you want to call, you've got a gun range story, you've got a question, or you've got a commentary on a news story about guns that's really got you hyped, or you just want to range report, whatever it is, we'd love to hear it. Maybe we'll hear from Fred today in Rhode Island. Although in the news, and this is not necessarily gun related, but I had to laugh when I watched this because Fred is a frequent listener and caller. Fred's in Rhode Island, right? So Fred listens on the internet across the country to the show. And I saw this video, and you've probably seen it by now. I saw it like 2 hours after it happened. I got a notification from somebody, and they sent it to me about these two women who were arrested in, was it Atlantic City or someplace? Anyway, they were down on the boardwalk and they were drunk. Okay. They and their beta husbands had gone out to eat, and the women had gotten all liquored up, and the restaurant had asked the police to come and trespass them because they were being obnoxious. All right. That was what the deal was. And it turns out that one of the women was an attorney general from Rhode Island. And, well, you know how these videos go. It starts out with, I'm an attorney general. You can't do this to me. And you have to turn off your body camera if I ask you to, which, what? Essentially the whole thing ends in tears and sadness. And both women are then put in handcuffs and put into the car because they won't leave. They're just like, can you leave? And I don't know why those types of videos are so satisfying to watch, people who are so full of themselves. I mean, she must have told us 53 times in the video that she's an AG and those guys are going to regret it and everything else. No, honey, I think you're going to regret it. I think you are going to regret it. And I think you might be out of a job sometime in the near future. But I was hoping that Fred would call today and comment on that, since that's happening in his backyard. But yet just the absolute elitist mentality of a lot of people. And, in some ways, maybe I can wrap it back around to gun culture and everything else, because these are the people who are making our laws, right? Or in this case, enforcing our laws as an attorney general. And her answer was, I know the law better than you. You have to turn off your body camera, and I'm not going to comply because I'm an attorney general, and you can't arrest me because I'm an attorney general. And it's this elitist attitude. And these are the same people that are enforcing as the AG of Rhode Island. She's going to be enforcing this new assault weapons ban that they just passed in Rhode Island. Is that the kind of person you want in charge of those kind of laws that are affecting your fundamental rights? I mean, I got questions. I got real questions about this. And it's really is a snapshot into the minds of people who are so entitled and so elitist in their attitude that it just really gives you a bird's eye view of how that stuff works. And it was it's almost embarrassing to watch, but so satisfying in the end when they both get slammed into the police cars and doors closed and they're locked away. And I love the other gal who was not an attorney general. Her lawyer said, well, she was trying to de-escalate. She was trying to slow the roll on. They were just asking you to leave. The whole thing was about just trespassing them off the property. Just get up and leave the property. That's all we need you to do. Just get up and go. Oh, you don't want to do that? Okay, now we have a problem. It's just astonishing to watch. Fred's in Rhode Island. And, you ask and he will appear. He's like a genie. He just pops right up. Fred's over in Rhode Island. Hey, Fred, how are things going out there, my friend? What's going on?
Hi, good morning, Michael. Yeah, it's very interesting story. Apparently, it was actually in the city of Newport in Rhode Island.
Oh, it was
One
in Newport.
of the
Okay.
finer restaurants down there in the Newport tourist area that they were arrested on. And yeah, you pretty much got the details down pat. It's exactly what happened. But she's not the attorney general. She's one of the assistant attorney generals in the state. But it's still a pretty high position. And the attorney general is very woke. He's very progressive woke. And I guess that's kind of like the policy of his entire staff and office. That's the way that they conduct themselves. So that pretty much gives you a pretty good idea where they're all coming from. Do you know who I am?
Yeah.
Thing,
yeah, exactly.
Unreproachable, totally full of themselves. And I think that they're in a position now where they're gonna face the music because they don't have a choice. They can't sweep this under the rug. They can't bury it. They can't hide from it. They're gonna have to you're gonna be facing some serious concept.
Yeah.
I think that if anything will put a smile on my face, that will do it. That will definitely do it because these people do it to themselves, and you have to laugh at them when they sit there and they screw up. And they sit there and they hang themselves with their own rope.
Yeah.
Well, what more can you say?
Oh, it's pretty interesting. Now, the latest on this, and I hadn't looked until just this morning as to what the latest is on this, but the latest on this is that she's been put on unpaid leave for now. Right. And the AG, apparently she was an assistant attorney general, but the true attorney general said there's going to be promises strong sanctions for the prosecutor. Strong to be fired. This is not just a sanctioning incident. She needs to be one of the top law enforcement officers in the state, and she needs to be fired. I don't know why you'd even put her on after that.
Well, you see, this is the progressive way. This is the woke way. If had she been a Trump supporter or conservative, she would have been fired long before this accident. They would have found would have drum up something to get rid of them. And the most minor infraction, had they been on the other side of the political fence, they would have been gone. But because they, like I say, they all drink out of the same polluted well, this is what they do. They sit there and they try to hide. They sit there and they try to cover for each other, regardless of whether. But they're not going to get away with it because there's too many eyes. I think there are way too many eyes on this whole situation, and there's only certain things you can cover up. And this guy the attorney general has aspirations becoming the next governor. I don't see that happening anyway. With or without this situation taking place, this guy's just out of control as far as his wokeness and his progressiveness, as far as like his policies. He's really out of control. Another one. That's just what we need. Another one.
Another one. Well, what else is on your mind, Fred, for today for this Firearms Friday?
Well, it's ran across an interesting scenario in this assault weapons ban. They call the prohibited firearms list, and it kind of makes it interesting looking at it. One of the provisions that and this is nationwide. There's one blueprint for this whole thing. I don't know if it started in California or New York, but wherever it started from, it's just been blueprinted down the line to each state that takes it up and looks at it, and they just kind of copy off the original list is what they're doing. And one of the provisions in that is if the firearm, the AR-15 or the AK or whatever it is that they call an assault weapon, it has a detachable magazine, then all the evil features, the collapsible stock, the barrel shroud, the pistol grip, the flash eyes, and all the other things that make it an evil weapon, then that classifies it as a weapon, and whatever laws or whatever provisions that are in the law that will apply. However, if it is a fixed magazine, which is becoming another cottage industry, which is now popping up all over the place, a fixed magazine that you can put into the firearm, and it can't be removed. They're going to hold up to the 10 rounds if the magazine restriction applies. Which 99% of the states that have the assault weapons ban, I also got to have the magazine ban, of course. So if it doesn't have any more than 10 rounds in it and it's fixed, It all goes out the window. Nothing applies. But apparently, nobody's making a lot of noise about that, which is kind of like scratching my head saying, you know what? There's a chink in the armor. I think we should definitely dig into it.
Yeah.
Find out, see what can be done to
Well,
throw this thing out the window.
And I'm waiting to see, and I know that you and I have talked about this over the last few weeks. I'm waiting to see what happens once it actually goes in, because this law is blatantly unconstitutional. And
it's beyond unconstitutional. This is wrong, and wrong.
But this is what Robyn Sandoval was talking about in the last hour, that this is what they do. The states who are the left-leaning pro, gun control states, they're going to pass a law, and then they're going to force you, the common citizen, to have to fight them with your own money, against your own money, because your tax dollars are funding their half of the scenario, to then fight it and ultimately win, but at what cost, right? A year, 2 years, all this court costs, everything else. I'm just waiting to see who's going to step up and fill the void and try and take on this assault weapons ban, because it is ridiculous. In Rhode Island, we're talking about.
It's an encroachment on the Second Amendment. And, they don't have any respect for the Second Amendment anyway, which is very scary, because if they don't respect the Second Amendment, they don't respect any of the amendments. It's just a question of time before the whole house of cards comes crashing down, and they just sit there and they go after your First Amendment, your Fourth Amendment, your Fifth Amendment, and everything else. No, it's the road to ruin. It's 1938 Berlin all over again, and it's just going to be one matchstick at a time until you get the whole bunch of matches. That's what it's going to boil down to. And the key problem is, I talked to one of the state politicians who happened to be pro-gun the other night, and he came up with an interesting scenario as far as like the whole mentality of the progressive movement that's in the state. Well, not in Rhode Island, but I think throughout the country, and it had to do with fish hooks, and these progressive people, and fish. According to the explanation he had, his perception of what he sees as progressives. Fish have feelings. Fish can feel pain. Okay. Therefore, using fish hooks should be banned, because the fish bite and they are subjected to a painful experience. So what's the answer? You use nets, catch millions of fish, and then you make the whole species extinct. That's the answer? These people are insane. These people are totally out of control.
What do? You pack them. Don't they feel panic when they all, the fish have feelings. A fish, when you pack them all into a net, don't they feel panic when they can't get away? Isn't that inhumane? It's all inhumane at that point, right? It is the ridiculousness. You're highlighting the ridiculousness of the argument there. All right, Fred. Well,
absolutely.
Thanks so much for calling in. It's good to hear from you. We appreciate you being part of the show today.
And Michael, you have a good week.
All right. Thanks so much. Appreciate you listening out there in Rhode Island. All right. Well, that brings us up to the break, and we got another segment coming up. This whole thing in Rhode Island, especially with this assistant attorney general and her whole thing, it just shows you that there's a two-tier system, right? One rule for thee, another for me. I'm an AG. You can't do that. I'm an AG. One rule for thee and another for me. If you want to see a highlight of that, let's talk about what's happening in New Jersey. Oh, man. There's some things happening in New Jersey there that'll just make your eyeballs pop right out of your forehead on this one. We're going to continue. Don't go anywhere. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. It is Firearms Friday. Back with more after this.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, in the break here. Oh man, so crazy. Let me pull up my details here on this story about New Jersey. I forgot to grab it. I forgot to grab it this morning on my way in. It was one of the stories that I really wanted to highlight because wow. Oh no, I want to go over here. Okay. Yeah, here we go. There it is. Liberty Doll had a good video on this over on YouTube. And there's some details on this. There we go. So it is it's super crazy what's happening in New Jersey with what's going on over there, where they have got a new bill, which is Bill 5958, and it essentially exempts politicians from any gun control law. And politicians during the duration of their term, and their chiefs of staff, by the way. So some animals are, we're all equal, but some animals are more equal than others. So there. Fish are friends, not food, but they're also delicious food, Melissa. I understand. The fish are friends, not food. It's the Finding Nemo. I got it. Okay. All right. Let me go back to see what you guys are talking about in the chat room. Yeah, Treg Taylor resigned. His last day is next week, next Friday, I guess, whatever, the 29th. So he's going to be, that's going to be his last day. So expect his announcement shortly thereafter. Again, I was hoping to have a conversation with him about the grand jury stuff. I don't think that's going to happen now until and if he wants to come up and talk about his candidacy, because I guarantee you that'll be one of the first questions we ask. We'll be talking about, why didn't we challenge the constitutional aspects of the Supreme Court order? That'll be my first question. Miguel just said our AG just resigned to run for governor, and in my opinion, to run away from the questions and why he didn't do anything about what's going on with the grand jury before he resigned. Could be. Somebody says, I think it was Dwayne Bannock over in Sound Off on KSRM up in Soldotna. He made a comment on Facebook yesterday that said, methinks he doth protest too much. When was the last time you saw an attorney general write an opposing op-ed on something that was criticizing him? I mean, again, I don't know. I have more questions than I have answers over all these issues that are going on. I have a lot more questions, but I just know that this is going to make for a very interesting political season. That's just very interesting political season. Frank just says, he says, I really don't understand why people are surprised that people with authority are above the general public. It's not uncommon. I mean, no, historically, it's not. Again, this goes back to the whole power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. I mean, we live in a two-tier society. There's the politicians, which includes the bureaucrats and appointed bureaucrats like attorney generals. There's politicians, and then there's everyone else. I guess I should say there's the political class, because that would include appointees and political creatures like these, attorney generals, etc. There's the political class, and then there's everyone else. You want to know why firearms rights are so important? That reason right there. Because the founders and framers understood that. Even in the time of King George, there was a political class. And what we have today is not so much the nobility as the nouveau riche nobility, right? The new style. That's what it's about.
What the hell is an assault weapon? Does that mean that if we hurt your feelings, you should consider the Michael Dukes just Michael Dukes. Kind of a dick, but somewhat funny.
Yeah, well, somewhat funny. Somewhat funny. That's what it's all about. Again, we were just talking about, one rule for thee and another for me. That's what it's all about. We're seeing that in so many ways, including in this discussion that we were just having about this assistant attorney general in Rhode Island who got arrested and just kind of said the quiet part out loud that, you can't do that. I'm an AG. I'm a special person. I am part of the new political class where we make the rules, but the rules only count to you little people. And, quite honestly, this is why the framers put the Second Amendment in place, because they understood that even before there was a republic, even in King George's time, in the monarchy, there was a political class. Now in there were actual class lines of nobility and everything else, but there were political creatures in there as well, where the laws only applied to us peasants and not to the nobility. And here we are again today facing some of those same things. And, this gal she just said the quiet part out loud. She just was liquored up enough to be able to let her tongue slip and basically tell us this is how we feel. And now the same thing is going on in New Jersey. Yep. In New Jersey, there's now again one of the most strident gun control states in the country. And the New Jersey legislature is now taking a look at a brand new bill. It is Assembly Bill 5958, which authorizes elected officials and their chief of staff to carry certain firearms subject to compliance with training requirements. Now, as we know, New Jersey, again, one of the most prolific gun control states in the country, has got rules for just about everything. And the problem is that they've decided that some animals are more equal than others. This new bill puts the following language codifies it into law. A person who is an elected official at all times while in the state of New Jersey, but only for the duration of the elected official's term. For the purposes of this subsection, an elected official means any person holding the office of United States Senator, member of the House of Representatives elected from this state, or any person holding a state or local government office under the state constitution by law, is filled by the registered voters of a jurisdiction of an election, yada, yada, yada. It says a person appointed by an elected official to serve as chief of staff while in the actual performance of the person's duty, but only for the duration of the official's term. They are permitted to carry a firearm, to basically be above the law, that everyone else has. Literally only public officials. The bill authorizes elected officials and their chiefs of staff to carry certain firearms. Under the law, there's a general prohibition regarding the possession of firearms and weapons, but there is an exemption for certain individuals. For certain animals. Under the provision of this bill, the general prohibitions on possessing handgun, rifle, and shotgun will not apply to a person who's an elected official. Under the bill, the general prohibition of possessing a handgun, rifle, or shotgun will also not apply to a person appointed by an elected official to serve as the elected official's chief of staff. This exemption only applies while in the actual performance of the person's official's duty and only during the duration of the elected official's term. So this is, again, one rule for thee, another for me, you peasants. This is actually going on. This is actually in the New Jersey Assembly right now, the New Jersey State House, essentially, that they are going to create a carve-out for themselves while the rest of the common citizens face jail times and everything else in regards. I mean, this is just nutty. But again, it just proves that, the quiet part out loud, just what the Rhode Island Assistant Attorney General says. Well, I'm an AG. You can't do that. I'm above the law. I can be drunk in public and refuse to leave an establishment because I'm an AG. This is exactly why we have the Second Amendment. And I'm not talking about using force or deadly force on that. I'm just saying these kind of behaviors highlight why the Second Amendment isn't so important, because power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. They will make all these laws for our betterment, right? Because they know better than us how we should live our lives and how we should defend ourselves and how we should take care. They know better. But, for them, they need. I saw that video of Chuck Schumer the other day talking about how, it's so ridiculous that, that it is dangerous in Washington, D.C. I just went walking down the street in Washington, D.C. You've got a security detail. You've got a security detail behind you with automatic weapons. Of course you weren't bothered. One rule for thee, another for me. That's what this is all about. And now we're just seeing more and more that they're saying the quiet part out loud.
Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, I didn't have time to play the music or anything else because I got so wrapped up in talking about that. It just da. Do they have to pass a background check? No. They do have to go to a state police training session. That's all they had to do. Terry says it's because New Jersey knows that they're doing such unethical things that they are scared and want to protect themselves from the public. Yes. That's exactly it. Us peasants may revolt, so they need to defend themselves. So they need to make themselves exempt for the laws of peasants so they can defend themselves against the peasants. It's just astonishing. Just don't fathom it, right? Just don't fathom it. Oh, buddy. They would then be in violation of federal law, says Brian. For not doing a background check. I don't know. I'm assuming that if they're going to acquire the gun, that they have to go through a background check from an FFL or whatever. But the only thing that law stipulates is that they have to go through the state patrol training course or whatever. But some people, again, some animals more equal than others. Welcome to being a peasant. Remember, you can't protect yourself in your own home without losing your gun rights, says Chris. It's always a danger, my friend. Always a danger when you're fighting that kind of stuff to see it and regulate it here. David says, the problem that we have today is that ammo is so expensive that when it comes time to shed lead, people want to hold on to it as much as their precious metals. It's worth too much. I mean, I don't know. Look, $1,000 worth of ammunition is not worth more than my life. And you can do a lot of dry fire exercises and be as ready as you can be. Go to the range once a year. Do a lot of dry firing in the meanwhile. If I had to fire a whole box of ammunition to protect myself and my family, worth every penny of it. Ammo is expensive. And yeah, we're not going to the range every week unless we're multi-gazillionaires. But you can do a lot of dry fire exercises, my friend. A lot of them. For sure. I'm sorry, I'm going back through this. He had nothing to do with the grand jury stuff, says Franks. He was just following the ruling of the Supreme Court. Did you not hear that yesterday? Did you not hear the fact that what the grand jury or what the courts were proposing in their order is constitutionally questionable? And as the Attorney General, he has a right and a duty and a responsibility to push back on things that are unconstitutional that come from the court. I mean, that's part of the deal. You should go out and you should read Ben Carpenter's article that he put out yesterday, Frank, over on Must Read, because he goes into that specifically. That the administration, Dunleavy, and the Attorney General have a responsibility to prosecute and to pursue things like that are unconstitutional. It's I mean, it's right there. It's right there. So you go check it out. Go check it out. Okay. We're going to be jumping into it here in just a minute. We're about a minute and a half out. Any final thoughts before we wrap things up? Willie Waffle, I'm waiting for my phone to buzz here, and we'll bring Willie on the program here in just a sec. Nothing to be sorry about. Nothing to be sorry about, David. Because I wasn't trying to criticize you or chastise you over the ammo thing. I'm just saying, there's a reason we do things. That we got to fight it. Yes, got to fight it in a certain way. And Brian points out that, yes, there are a bunch of dry fire systems that are very cost effective. And yes, on the other topic, Terry, it is the AG's job to enforce the Constitution. I agree. And if he knows, and he even said to Ben Carpenter that he'd be a very bad, he'd be, that he thought the gatekeeping was wrong, and that he even said, I'll be a bad gatekeeper kind of thing. Like I won't be if you know it's wrong, then fight it. If you know it's wrong, then fight it. Don't just let it go. That's part and parcel of the problem here, my friends. If you know it's bad, don't just let it happen. All right. We got to go. Phone's buzzing. Time to do it. Willie Waffle's up next. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell. Let's do this thing. Okay, welcome back to the Friday Madness. This is the lighter side segment. This is the entertainment segment with Willie Waffle. You know him from nowhere, except for this show, but that's cool because that's how we like it. We like to have him all to ourselves. Willie Waffle, entertainment critic extraordinaire. Hello, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling excited. I'm feeling like summer's almost over and fall is right around the corner. Yeah. I'm more of a fall and a winter guy.
Shut up.
I like it a lot more.
Shut up.
I'm very excited.
Shut up. And nobody needs your snow and all your stuff. We like the summer around here, so just be quiet. It's all good. All right, well, we got a ton of stuff to talk about today, so let's get rocking and rolling. Let's talk about the news first. I want to talk about Henry Cavill. He's going to be in a new Highlander. He's going to be playing Connor McLeod of the Clan McLeod. One of my favorite movies of all time, Highlander, which was kind of a low-budget cult flick that just popped out of nowhere with Sean Connery and Clancy Brown. And I mean, what a great flick, but they're going to remake it. And as much as I hate remakes, we talk about that all the time. Henry Cavill, I'm kind of down with it.
Well, and it could be kind of cool because, well, there's more members of the cast that have been revealed, my friends. Yes, they have announced that the Scottish lovely, the redhead lass of my dreams, Karen Gillan, will be in Highlander.
Oh man!
And she will be joined by Dave Bautista and playing the Sean Connery role, Russell Crowe.
Oh, okay. God, God, you know who I thought would have been great in that role would have been Benedict Cumberbatch. But that's fine. Okay, all right, I'm good. I'm fine. If you're going to Dreamcast it, I'm good. I know it's going in production and everything else. What we talking about? This is like 2 years out, right?
Oh, easily 2 years out. Yeah. Yeah, you were easily. I mean, like I don't even think they've started shooting anything yet. I mean, they're just basically signing up everybody before they jump into going into production. But hey, I'm with you. I usually am not excited about remakes. This one I might be into.
Yeah,
this might be kind of cool.
As long as they use the Queen soundtrack. You have to have the Queen soundtrack.
Oh my God, I know.
If you don't,
oh God, yeah. Because who are they going to get to do those songs?
Yeah, no,
you can't.
Yeah, you're gonna have to pay the big bucks and and reuse the Queen soundtrack because those songs were specifically written. There were several of those songs that were specifically written for Highlander. So anyway, all right. So I'm looking forward to that. What else you got in the news?
Well, we also have, you know what? Let's talk about Millie Bobby Brown from Stranger Things.
Stranger Things and Enola Holmes. Yeah,
our favorite young lady.
Okay.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, today she announced she's a mommy.
Well, that was quick.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah.
She just popped it out or what? I mean, it was like.
Well, no. Well, 21-year-old Millie Bobby Brown and her husband Jake Bon Jovi. Recognize the name Bon Jovi because he's the son of the Bon Jovi.
Okay.
They've been married a couple of years, and they announced that they have adopted a little baby girl.
Oh, well, that's cool. I hope they stay together. That's all I could say. I hope they stay together.
I do too. I was so worried about this. I'm like, you're getting married kind of young, kid, and I'm all about true love, and I do hope they stick together. I hope they're in it for the long haul. And now they got a baby, so they got to stay dedicated to each other. But I know what I was like at 21, and I don't think I could have gotten married at 21.
Well, I'm kind of a freak. My wife and I got married at 20, and we've been married coming up on
there you go.
30.
You're the testimony to the good things that can happen.
But I don't live in Hollywood, so I mean it's a whole different thing there. But we'll see. Good luck to her. We hope it all works out. All right. What else we got? Department Q. Oh, Department Q.
Oh yeah,
so good. What a good piece of television that was. It's coming back.
Yes, it is coming back. Netflix announced that, yes, there will be a season 2 of Department Q. Matthew Good, the whole ragtag group is coming back. They don't know when. They don't know what the story is going to be, but everybody has signed on the dotted line. And I'll just say this. There's no lack of other source material. The author has written 10 Department Q novels.
Oh, wow.
I'm sure they're going to find a good one to be the second season.
The first one was so good. Oh my gosh. It
was great.
It just, you were on the edge of your seat, like every episode. That was it. That was the end. And you're like, oh man, it was so good. I love that. So Department Q, we'll be looking forward to that as well. Streaming continues to dominate TV. I mean, this is the way that you and I talked about this, 7-8 years ago, how streaming was going to take over and cable was dying. And here we are today. Give me the numbers.
Yeah, it's not even close. They came out with all the numbers for July 2025. It is the 6th straight month that streamers have set a record high share of viewing. Streaming comprises 47.3% of all TV usage, according to Nielsen. Okay, that's up from 46% in June. That is 6 points higher than July of 2024. Cable is in at a minuscule 22.2, while broadcast television hit a record low at 18.5%. So basically, cable and broadcast don't even quite get to where streaming is.
No, I mean
that is shocking.
And YouTube is a separate. I mean, like this, the YouTube numbers is like huge, right? I mean, YouTube and Netflix together are like they beat cable and TV altogether.
Yeah, they did. Matter of fact, I've got it here. So YouTube is 13.4%. Netflix is 8.8%. Disney is 4.7%. Prime Video at 3.8%. And this is where it gets interesting to me. Roku is at 2.8, Tubi is at 2.2, and dragging up the rear, Paramount Plus and Peacock and WB Discovery.
Okay. But that's where that means that YouTube is the number one streamed thing on the television, is what you're telling me.
Yeah, YouTube is pretty much the number one, because they have their YouTube TV,
Right.
and they have things like the Sunday Ticket, and they've got they've got some live events that many channels host. That people still just watch videos and trailers on YouTube. I mean, YouTube really does dominate things. What I found interesting too is we saw Netflix was 8.8% of all the viewing. Well, they also have most of your top programs. So they released what the top programs were in July, and they measure this by the billions of minutes viewed. And number one was Squid Game on Netflix at 5.4 billion minutes.
Wow.
Right behind it, this is the thing that shocked me. Right behind it, Love Island USA on Peacock at 5.3 billion minutes viewed. People love their trash TV.
Man.
Then like Blind Spot's in there, Untamed from Netflix, a great show was in there. And the one that really got me, and I looked at this number, Happy Gilmore on Netflix had 2.9 billion minutes viewed. And I said, wait a minute, you mean in July when it came out on July 25th? Yes.
Wow.
It set a record for for basically the biggest opening weekend streaming wise ever. That 2.9 billion minutes viewed was the 25th, 26th, and 27th alone.
Wow, man. Well,
yeah.
they got a good investment in Adam Sandler. I guess they made their money back on that deal for sure.
Oh, time and time again.
Yeah.
They've really done well with him.
All right. Well, good news for streams, not so much for TV, but that's okay. We're living in a new world. We got time for one more before we go to the features. What do we got?
Well, I'm going to get excited.
Okay.
I like True Detective. I love the first season on HBO with Matthew McConaughey.
That was the best.
That was the best one.
Yeah.
That was the best one. The last season with Jodie Foster really revived the series. It was so good. If you get a chance to watch, I know you and I have talked about this because it took place in Alaska. Well, they're going to do a season 5 set in Jamaica Bay, New York, my friends. That is New York City. And they are in talks with, and if they're announcing they're in talks with them, it's happening. Nicolas Cage is going to be the star of True Detective.
A drama with Nicolas Cage. That should be intense because
I think it's going to be awesome.
Oh God, yeah, that first one with Woody Harrelson and Matthew McConaughey was amazing. That series was amazing. The other ones were good, but they, again, a little disappointing compared to the first. It's always hard after that first one is so good, but I think Nicolas Cage, I'll be riveted. I'll be watching that for sure because Nick Cage is just he's just such an amazing actor.
And I just want to watch Nicolas Cage do some great acting.
Yeah.
Like, we have a lot of fun. Nicolas Cage has done a lot of campy things in his life. He's done a lot of over the top stuff. But when he's really centered and focused, this guy's a killer actor.
Yeah.
A killer actor.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I can't wait to see what that's like. All right. Well, let's move over to the streams. Last week, before I went on my vacation for my birthday, we were going to review Nobody 2. Which is Bob Odenkirk. I really loved the first one. You're kind of not as much an action movie fan as I am, but I really liked the first one because it was so different. Give me the deets on Nobody 2.
I think this is a fun movie. I mean, for people who don't know, yes, Bob Odenkirk, basically think of him as the traditional emasculated sitcom dad who secretly is John Wick. Yes, he's a retired, special, basically a retired assassin, a retired killing machine. And, in Nobody, they bring it out of him when, these thugs, invade his house, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, now we're in movie 2, and he owes the Russian mob a lot of money after what he did in the first movie. So he's had to go back to being an assassin for hire. He's tired. I mean, he's always out on the road. He's always taking on jobs. He misses his family. He misses his wife. So he decides it's time to take a vacation. Why, he wants to take his family to the same place his dad used to take him and his family back in the day. But is he going to go and not have trouble? No. He's going to run afoul of the crooked sheriff the crooked water park owner and a local crime lord chewing up the scenery. Yes, Miss Sharon Stone.
Oh, geez. And who plays his dad? Is it Christopher Lloyd?
It's Christopher Lloyd.
Oh, my
It's
God.
Christopher Lloyd.
Because I'd seen a bunch of trailers, but all of a sudden I saw him in the trailer, and I'm like, first of all, I thought, wow, he's still alive? Then I was like,
I know.
And then I was like, oh, my God. And when I heard that his dad was, I was like, oh, they got to have Christopher Lloyd as his dad. That's just got to be all right. So, I mean, it's good. But again, you're not a huge action fan, but give me a quick waffle meter rundown here.
I'm at like 3 waffles, okay, because they are playing this thing for the comedy and the camp that it is. I mean, the action is completely over the top on purpose. It's supposed to be goofy. It's supposed to be ridiculous, and we're in on the joke. Bob Odenkirk gets to slide his little one-liners in there, and he's a pretty funny guy. And Sharon Stone, I think, gets it, or just is so bad that she fits in, because she is just ripping apart the scenery in this movie, and it's perfect. She's crazy. She's just as over top as any of the action. So I'm at 3 waffles. I had a good time.
I can't wait to watch it. All right, we got about 2.5 minutes here, so you give me I know Peacemaker's one, Hostage. Where do you want to go?
Let's only talk about the good ones. Let's have a good day.
Okay.
So good ones means Hostage. I am really liking this one. Okay. So it's 5 episodes. I'm 3 episodes in. It is a Netflix series. It is Saran Jones playing a new British prime minister. She's only 8 months into her term, and things are not going well. There is just stuff happening everywhere. She looks like her administration is going to be a failure, and she has this massive summit with the French president, played by Julie Delpy, coming up. And as soon as Julie Delpy hits the land of England, tragedy strikes. The prime minister's husband has been kidnapped, and they want to blackmail her into doing something she doesn't want to do.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, it's a good twisty, turny kind of thriller. It's very soap opera like. I mean, the twists and turns are like, they remind me of Dallas or Dynasty or something. I mean, it's just some crazy stuff going on. But I like Saran Jones, the way she is growing through every episode, going from kind of an ineffective prime minister to getting steely, getting tough, getting rough, understanding she is now in the big event. She is in the main event, and Julie Delpy is fantastic. She is the manipulator, the master politician, and she is bringing it out of Jones. I think it really works. I'm at 3.5 waffles. I am really enjoying this.
All right, we'll have to put it on my list. One more. We got about 60 seconds or so.
All right, then we got to talk about Peacemaker. He's back for a second season. And, if you didn't see the first season, don't worry. They do a really good big recap at the beginning of the first episode. Okay. For those of you who don't know, he is the ultra-patriotic, jingoistic mercenary. He thinks now he's going to be a superhero. He just saved the planet. But things aren't going that great in season 2. And he finds out there is basically a multiverse. There's another universe out there that he accidentally stumbles into. And his life is so much better. He wants to stay.
Oh, no. Well, I saw a few rushes from this, and it looks really funny. He gets introspective and stuff, which is not his thing. But I can't wait to see. -1 to 4 waffles. Where we at?
I'm at 3 waffles. I'm having a good time. Every Thursday, they're going to put out a new episode.
Shut up. Okay. Willie Waffle, thanks so much. Folks, we're out of time. We'll see you on Monday. Okay, I don't have a lot of time here, but I want to pick into that a little bit more, because again, he gets a little bit more introspective, right? Because all of a sudden he sees other versions of himself, and he's like, maybe I shouldn't be such a dumbass, right? It's kind of
like maybe things can be better. Maybe my life would be happier if I made other decisions, if I went in this other direction. John Cena is hilarious, but I think this series, this kind of, at least this season, I agree with you. He's getting a chance to be a little bit more dramatic. We're really starting to see the emotions and the scars that he has attained throughout his life, and what it's really done to him. And he's starting to understand what it's done to him. And that's why he's like, man, maybe this is a fresh start for me, because in my current universe, people don't like me. They don't appreciate me. He does have an interview for the Justice Gang, and you got to see it to believe it. I think this is really cool. I can't wait to see what's going to happen for the rest of the season. I'm in it. I'm in it.
Okay. Quick waffles. Just give me waffles for America's Team, which is the Cowboys, Dallas Cowboy documentary about Jerry Jones.
Zero waffles.
Zero
waffles.
Man.
Those self-serving jerks. Oh my God.
Okay.
This is like just, oh my God. You might as well just say written and directed by Jerry Jones. Okay. He thinks he's a genius.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then finally, Honey Don't, which is the new Margaret Qualley thing. Small town detective trying to solve a series of mysterious church murders. What's that?
This is also zero waffles. They want to be more outrageous and shocking than actually telling a good story.
Oh, man, it's painful. It's painful to watch. All right, well, at least we've got Nobody 2 and The Peacemaker. We can go watch those, and The Hostage when we feel like soap opera drama. So it's all good. All right, well, Willie Waffle, my friend, as always, it's great to talk with you. Thanks for coming on board. We'll see you next week.
Next week, man, I'll be here with the Roses.
Ooh, I'm looking forward to it. All right, folks, we got to go. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.